Inside episode 27 on Outsourcing Live, I share with you the rest of the 12 outsourcing blunders and how you can avoid them. And also, towards the end of the podcast, I'll reveal with you a tip on how to get more subscribers on your YouTube channel. Time to hit play.
Welcome to the Outsourcing Live podcast. And now, your host, Tyrone Shum.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming on to the next Outsourcing Live podcast. What a really wonderful day it is here, and I'm really keen to get into the next part of the outsourcing blunders. Last week, I mentioned that we'll be talking about the 12 outsourcing blunders and how to avoid them, or how you can avoid them. And this is part 2 of it. So I went through the first 6, and today I'll be talking about the next 6 of the outsourcing blunders. Now, it's been really exciting because over the last week and in the last month, as I mentioned in the last podcast, we've had an amazing growth in the podcast and also in YouTube as well. So there's been a lot of great things that have been happening. And also I want to just keep thanking all the people, and you know who you are, for leaving reviews on the iTunes podcast. I'm going to also read out some of the really amazing reviews and really appreciate this because it's just touching and great feedback to know. So, for example, Patricia, she left a review saying, I find this podcast very informative and detailed. There are specific steps we can take to achieve the results we want. Not just information, it's quite pragmatic and practical that we can apply and use in outsourcing. Excellent stuff. Well done, Tyrone. Thanks so much for that, Patricia. My great friend, Leslie Samuel, he writes, when it comes to outsourcing, Tyrone really knows his stuff. This is something that I struggled with when I started my business. I spent way too much time building my blog. Now I use some of the principles he teaches, and it has made a huge difference to the growth of my business. The interviews he does are also very valuable. I definitely recommend this podcast to anyone who's into business. It will help make life much easier. And that's been 5 out of 5 stars for all these reviews, so thank you so much. Another one from Contact 4CDA. I've been following Tyrone for some time now, and he's always been very good information. Additionally, his interviews have been useful by identifying other sources for online marketing, outsourcing, and website ideas. I highly recommend Tyrone as a valuable source for internet income development. Thank you so much for that. Wow. Chris Patterson writes, really good stuff and useful information in the podcast that I've listened to so far. Thanks, Tyrone. Lewis C777. Tyrone packs each episode with great information. There is no extra fluff or hype. I appreciate his sincerity and his helpful attitude. And then finally, Nolan J. Fisher. Tyrone, from following your blog, watching your videos, and listening to your podcast, I've been able to decrease my work hours from 30 hours to 20 hours, plus increase my income, and I've enjoyed the journey so much, all thanks to you and your great wisdom, and I'm looking forward to meeting you very soon and following your awesome blog and great content. Keep up the great work, mate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your feedback, and it's amazing. As I said, I wanted to aim for at least 30 reviews for iTunes for this month, and so far we've got 9 out of 30, so that's a great thing. And I keep encouraging, if you can leave a review, that'll be awesome, and I appreciate that. As I mentioned previously, if you don't know how to leave a podcast review on iTunes for me, and I really do appreciate your support, I've got a specific 2-minute video, roughly about 2 minutes, at reviews.outsourcinglive.com. And if you just follow that step-by-step instruction, I'd appreciate for you to just leave a quick review and just to say and let me know what you think about this podcast, because as I've said, there's been over 7,000 odd downloads within the 1 month. So far, I can see that we're tracking around about the 17 to 18,000 download mark already in the total amount of downloads that we've had. So it's been absolutely amazing. I'm blown away by how many people are downloading this, and it's great to see, and it means that I'm trying to do my best to provide the best material and content on outsourcing to satisfy all your needs and wants as well. And don't forget, as I said, always leave a comment down on the blog so you can let me know exactly what things I can help you with and talk about and share with them on this podcast as well. So thank you very much upfront in advance for that. All right, let's jump into today's segment where I'm going to be talking about the next 6 of the 12 outsourcing blunders. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I did say and give you a little sneak peek about it. So let me go into a little bit detail today and talk about it. Okay, continue on. The next one that we're looking at is the seventh outsourcing blunder. And the 7th one is using the wrong service to find your team. That's a massive blunder that I've personally experienced, and I know that a lot of people do. And the reason why I know this is because people join up to my course because they don't know where to find the right people. They've gone through to Elance, they've gone through to Odesk, they've even tried Rent-A-Coder. And that's commonly what a lot of people start off with first. I mean, that's what Tim Ferriss recommends inside his 4-hour work week. And I'm not knocking it or anything, but unfortunately, they're not exactly the best places to find full-time virtual staff. Ideally, if you want to get specifically contract work, like one-off tasks to be completed, or just minor things to be done, then great. Try out Elance and Odesk. Even a Fiverr is a good service for that. But I'm ideally trying to show people how to be able to build a team so that it helps you run your business for long term. And in the end, or towards the end, I guess you can say, of a long-term process, you will actually save much, much more. And I'll give you the example right now, actually. I originally hired my first virtual assistant from India going back probably about 3 years ago now. And when I did hire the first person, I thought $3.50 to $4 an hour was an absolute bargain, because in comparison to what we're paying here for hiring a virtual assistant, probably hourly rate is about $20 an hour. And that's very standard all across Australia. And that was great. And on average, you'd be looking to pay someone full-time around about $40,000 a year. So in equivalent, we would probably be looking to pay them roughly about $9,000 a year. If that's the case, and you divide that by 12, it's roughly about $800 a month, which is pretty good. I mean, like in comparison to what you could hire for a full-time virtual assistant. But because it was only on a contract rate and I might need them here and there, it wasn't very, very, wasn't the best, cheapest rate, as I should say. Actually, I shouldn't say it wasn't cheapest. It probably wasn't the most efficient way to hire someone. Nowadays, I am able to find full-time virtual assistants for roughly about $500 per month, between $450 to $500 per month. I probably should say it's on average for that, which is a little bit less than the $800 per month if I was to hire someone on a contract rate. So what I'm saying to you is that it's better off for you in the long term to hire someone full-time than it is on a contractual rate. And you'll see just evidently when you do hire, they are on their full-time working for you for 40 hours a week, committed to your business and helping you run your business. And my virtual assistant is fantastic at that. I give her a lot of responsibilities and she completes them pretty much most of the time for me. So that's the reason why I say to you, it's important to hire the right person and also hire at a full-time rather than hire at a contractual rate. But anyway, I sort of sidetracked myself because I was talking about a blunder where hiring the wrong person at the wrong service can be a problem. And I've talked about this in the past. Is I used to start off firstly from Elance, and I also went to Odesk, and those places are good for that. But if the criteria is not specific and you don't go specifically to that source or to the right source, you won't find a good virtual assistant or virtual staff. And for me, I found really good virtual staff directly from going to job websites from the Philippines. An example of a good job website is like bestjobs.ph, which I've used numerous times and it's worked out really well for me. I've also used virtual staff finding services like Chris Ducker's one, which is getvirtualstafffinder.com. And by using that one, they've been able to find out and source out all the people for me as well. So that way, one, it saves me a lot of time. I don't have to go through the interview filtering process. All I have to do is get them onto the call, check their references, and then I'm done. Whereas if I do go through a job board, basically I've got to go through and do all that whole process myself. So if you do want to go through a service like that, I'd highly recommend checking out getvirtualstafffinder.com, which is Chris Ducker's service that I'm good friends with. And also I should mention as well, if you do go through that service, make sure you email me because I'll be sending you a bonus as well. Because every time someone purchases or uses his service, you can receive a free bonus from me valued at almost $200. So definitely make sure you claim that. Sorry, it should be $300. $297, I should say, is the bonus. So make sure you do come back to me and I'll give you that bonus if you do buy through my link, which I just gave you there, which is getvirtualstafffinder.com. All right. Anyway, talking more about that particular blunder, as I mentioned, how would I avoid that? Well, most importantly, as I said, go through to the right service and make sure that this service is a reputable service. Once you know that they are able to find the right people and have done it successfully with many of their clients and also for you, you'll definitely go back to that same service and not try anything else. If you're looking for individual contractors, then yeah, definitely go for Elance or Odesk or any of those. But I'd highly recommend looking for that right person. It doesn't matter which country it is. My recommendation though is, you would know, is Philippines, but as long as the person has the right skill set, the right personality and the right character that matches your business, then great, hire them based on that. All right, so that's number 7th outsourcing blunder, and that's how I've been able to overcome that, is making sure that I use the right service, because it's so crucial for that, and it will save you a lot of time, guaranteed. All right, number 8 outsourcing blunder is hiring the cheapest rate or hiring at the lowest fee. That's been one of my sort of traits that I've had in the past, is when I saw that it was so cheap, I jumped at it immediately. And it's very easy to do that, because on Elance, it shows you just the hourly rate, and you'll just scroll through and you go, okay, I'll sort of buy cheapest to the highest. And you'd go and try out the cheapest one. But I don't recommend that, because I've experienced problems with that. Now, when I say cheapest rate, I don't necessarily mean just go and hire someone at $3.50 an hour and then that's it. What you need to do, as I've explained in the previous podcast, is make sure that you do hire the person based on their skill set, based on their personality and character. And also to make sure that they do have some form of previous experience working in a company, because that is so crucial to really help you move forward fast. You don't want to be spending hours and months training them exactly what to do. You want to be able to hire someone with the right skill set that matches for that right criteria. And once they've got that skill set, then the rest of the systems are pretty easy to train them up in. And if you've got videos there, it's a matter of just giving them the videos to learn about the procedures of your system, and then they follow that through. And that's very important. So I highly recommend don't hire based on the cheapest rate. And I'll give you an example. Twice, unfortunately for me, when I first started initially outsourcing, I hired through 2 providers from India. The first provider was a virtual assistant, and I thought $4.50 an hour, what a bargain. It was a great bargain for me for a short period of time. But unfortunately, I found out, even though I gave them deadlines, they kept charging, and they didn't get any of the work delivered. And it was a real shame, because I was expecting a good result from hiring from Indians, particularly from India, from what Tim Ferriss recommends. But unfortunately, that particular service provider, even though they had good results and they had good comments and feedback from them, they just didn't perform. And I think it's just in their nature, that their type of role, to try to say to you, yep, we'll do it, but it's going to be this amount of time. And a project that I know personally, or a task that I know personally would only take an hour, he'll charge me 3 hours for it, because obviously for that, they've got the cheapest rate, but they don't factor in saying that it's going to take 3 hours. And that's the biggest issue I found in the past when I was dealing with people like virtual assistants like that, because one, they'll say one low cheap rate, but in actual fact, it'll cost you a lot more than what it is. So make sure that when you are hiring someone, you do test them out and you do find out exactly how long it does take them, because the longer it takes them, the more they're going to cost you. Full time, well, that's a little bit different story, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they deliver to a deadline. And as long as they deliver to a deadline and deliver a good result, then you're fine. Okay, so that's how I've had that issue with the past and that blunder, and how I've overcome it for that particular one. Number 9 outsourcing blunder for me is not providing an incentive or bonus. All right, now if you're going, Tyron, an incentive or bonus, I'm already paying them a monthly wage, and that's fine. I know that some people have probably got a tight ship to run, and that's fair enough, and you don't have to do this, but I highly recommend you do. And it doesn't have to be very much. You don't have to pay them like $100 or something every month or something like that. A little incentive or reward, it could be just a little reward for saying, look, you've been doing a fantastic job this month, like $10, $20 in your own currency, and to reward them for that. Or maybe just to send them a voucher or something that they can use. But things that would encourage and incentivize them would really help. And don't forget, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. It can always be something that is going to be valuable for them. Find out what their family likes, find out what they like, get things that they want, because that way it's more of an incentive that they don't have to go out and buy it. They already receive it from you. So that's a really good way to keep your team really motivated, stay loyal to you, and also too to encourage them to do even better, because the more that you can support them, the more you can praise them, the more compliments you give them, this is all free stuff you can do, the better they'll perform in the work. And trust me, this really, really works and helps. And I've noticed the productivity in my team has increased because just those few things that I've implemented. And I can guarantee you that if you do just one of these things on a regular basis, you'll see a huge, huge amount of increase in performance just overall in your team. So definitely consider that. And I know that in the past, I've heard of stories where people just said, oh, I'm already paying them enough. They're pretty good at this point in time. Why should I pay them any more bonuses or anything else? Well, it's just with like any type of work situation. If you feel that you're valued in your workplace and some form of praise, compliment, or some incentive, I'd want to stay on for that workplace because I love working in that environment. And it's the same principles here. And I hope that you can take away these principles just from what I've learned in the past. Personally, I've been not too bad at this. I mean, I haven't had too many issues with regards to this because I have looked after my team. But I've had stories where people have come back to me and said, oh, Tyrone, I don't know. Why they're leaving? Why they're not staying on my team? You know, they're staying here only for a month and afterwards they disappear. And I usually just say there's a few things. It could be the cultural issue. They could be saying that they're not certain about the work, so they don't want to raise it up with you. Or you're just not keeping them on with a strong enough incentive. So definitely consider those as the factors as part of that too. All right, so that's my 8th outsourcing blunder. Sorry, 9th, I should say. The 10th one, we're very, very much halfway through. We're reaching very, very well, actually, in terms of this. But the 10th one that I'm talking about is expecting your person to do everything from programming to selling your products. And that's a huge, huge one. Some people think, oh, I'm going to hire just that one person and expect them to do everything for me. It's not possible, unless they're Superman or unless they're you're the entrepreneur and I'm the entrepreneur, then I don't expect them to do everything. Everyone has strong strengths and weaknesses, and they would be strong in certain tasks than they are in others. But you want to make sure that you do hire the person that is strong in that task rather than hire them in the week. So you definitely don't want to be hiring a virtual assistant who has experience in administration and you want them to build a website for you. That's probably not going to happen because someone to know that experience would definitely have to be a web programmer who's gone through university to study about programming, who understands the logics behind it and understands coding. And somebody with that kind of logical experience or that logical thinking would definitely have a different mindset comparison to someone who's very strong with administration work. So my recommendation to you is don't expect that you'll be able to find that right person. You may be very lucky, but I haven't heard very many people who have successfully had that. I'd recommend hiring a full-time programmer who has experience in, say, WordPress for development work, and then hiring, say, a virtual assistant who's very good at handling customer support, handling emails, writing, and doing all your administration tasks. And that's really how you should segment. I mean, there's so many other things and so many other jobs that can be also taken up as well, but the whole point that I'm trying to make here is to not expect that the one person that you hire will do everything for you, because they won't. It's the simple fact of life. And unless you're Superman and they're Superman, they will not be able to handle everything that you could just give to them. But in terms of saying that, as I said, project managers are 18 players and their very, very strong skill set is managerial. So they're very good at finding the right people to do that. And if you can find that person who can manage your business and run your business, allow them to hire the right people for you in your team. And that will alleviate a lot of any issues that you may have with this particular outsourcing blunder, because this particular person will be able to find the right resources and the right skills and have the right people in place to do it all for you. That's how I've overcome that one. So that's outsourcing blunder number 10. Not expecting your person to do everything for you. And that's not going to happen. And guarantee you, you will need to find a few people to be able to take over some of the work that you have. All right, that's number 10. Number 11 is this outsourcing blunder is really all about using free tools to run your business. Now, you might be going, Tyrone, don't you always talk about free tools and this and that? And I give away a lot of free content on my blog, which is the reason why I do it. I'm very happy with doing that and more than happy for you to use these tools. But not necessarily every free tool will be suitable for a system or project or whatever you're doing in your business. And personally, I have paid for numerous tools because I found them valuable, and it's worthwhile getting that because one, with free tools, not necessarily will you be getting support behind it. And two, some free tools are very limited in functionalities, so you can't do a lot of things. And I highly recommend if you're going to look at outsourcing and building a team and you're building a system, to invest a bit of money into getting the right infrastructure and to get the right softwares in place. Now, an example of something like this is probably video editing software. If you're doing a lot of videos like I am, I'd highly recommend investing money into getting good video editing software. I mean, you could get away with using like Jing, or you could use Screener to do video captures and use like iMovie to do some videos. But when it comes down to creating some professional videos, you will need to spend a bit more money to get some better video equipment or video editing software, which will allow you to do some professional transitions or professional videos so that people go, wow, If you see most of my videos, we have a particular software that we use called Adobe Premiere Pro, which is a paid software, and my video editor does some amazing stuff with that. It has special effects, all that kind of stuff that you see on my videos, and it makes a huge difference to the quality of your videos by doing that. So I highly recommend, if you are looking to outsource and want to set up your systems, which that's the reason why you're listening to this podcast, I'd highly recommend to consider getting some tools that are supported and also paid for. And you can definitely check out a whole list of all the resources that we have at our resources section, or in our shop actually at outsourcinglive.com to see that. And actually, I'll talk a little bit more about this shop that I haven't even released yet. So I'll give you sort of a little sneak peek into it. But anyway, let me continue on to the next outsourcing blunder. But I hope that with that particular one, I'm not saying to you everything that needs to be paid, but make sure that you do get the right resources or the right tools in your business. And even if you have to pay for them, it's worthwhile because you'll get support behind them. And plus, you'll be rest assured that those tools do work. All right. Now, the final and the last one, which I think is sort of really ties in really well to what I'm talking about systems, is an outsourcing blunder is doing everything by email. Nothing by systems or anything like that. And I've talked a lot about systems. That's what I'm really strong at. And I highly recommend that you don't do this via email. If you're communicating with 5, 6 virtual staff or virtual employees and communicating by email all the time, it becomes very challenging. So if you can have a system where everything's centralized, everyone has access to, and they can talk with each other, it would make life a lot easier. And furthermore, with a project management system, the one that I recommend, which is Basecamp HQ, you can track exactly what tasks have been completed, timelines of things that are due, who's communicating with who, emailing, or not emailing, but commenting on particular tasks. That way it's all centralized and tapped in together. And that's something that I learned pretty late, actually. I think it took me about 3 months into outsourcing before I realized I got to switch over to a system. And by then, I already spent a lot of time and effort emailing back and forth. So you'll find that as soon as you start outsourcing and you have your first team member, even if you've got the first one, get onto Basecamp HQ, which is basecamphq.com, and set up your first project in there and work with your virtual staff or virtual assistant. Because as your team grows, your projects will grow, you'll grow, and you'll need some form of specific system to keep everything all intact and make sure that it works all together. Now, if you're wondering, how do I train them through this? How do you put all this together, making sure that everything's all done? These are some of the tools that I've been recommending. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. So these are some of the tools that I've been recommending, which is Basecamp HQ, LastPass, which is to store all your passwords and making sure that they're all centralized in that system. And then also too, where you train or put your training documents, I recommend putting them to either Google Docs, which is free as well, or you can set up your own WordPress customized site which stores all your training material in there and your staff have access to that, which I know that some people are doing already, and that's worked out really, really well too. So those are the 3 tools that I recommend. Basecamp HQ is not free necessarily if you're running a large team, so that one's a paid one. LastPass, it's free, and also Google Docs is free, and WordPress, as I said, is free as well. So definitely check those tools out, and I encourage you to make sure that you do have a proper system in place to help you grow your outsourcing or grow your business with outsourcing very, very efficiently. And it'll make and save you a lot of time. And that way you can have your systems automated. You can just take a step back and overview and pretty much let everything run as it's supposed to be. All right, so that's my 12 outsourcing blunders and how to avoid them. And I have to say thank you again to Ken Bergen, for the recommendation on this podcast, this 2-part podcast series. And it's been a lot of fun to be able to share with you some of my experiences, some of my blunders that I've had. And I hope that you've learned a lot of things from me, and hopefully you can avoid these mistakes as well from what I've done in the past. And yeah, if you do have any questions or want to actually ask me a question about what you've been experiencing, have any things that you've had blunders of, outsourcing blunders, just go to episode 27, which is outsourcinglive.com/episode 27, and you're most welcome to leave a comment there and let me know. All right, before I do wrap up, there's one other thing I just want to share with you as well, is recently Outsourcing Live is been going under a revamp. And for some of you, you may know that. And if you're on my email list, you would have received an email letting you know about that. And I'm planning to open up a store which has pretty much, or I should say a shop that will pretty much have all our products in there. Any products that I've talked about and also done webinars with, and any other products that I recommend as well will be in that shop. And hopefully soon you'll be able to see that. So what I'm just giving you sort of a sneak peek is for you to just come back in the next podcast. Hopefully I'll have that released and you'll be able to go and have a look there. And you might want to purchase some stuff and use some of the tools that I recommend to try out as well. But what I would love to hear from you is let me know if there's any particular product or any particular service that you want me to put in there and help you out with, because the whole idea is I want to be able to give you some stuff that's going to be valuable and useful that you can also benefit from using as well. So as I said, go to this episode, which is episode 27, and leave a comment below. In addition to, if you've got any issues, letting me know what kind of products you might want to see on the site and how I can help you benefit from purchasing these products as well. It's time for the Outsourcing Live Quick Tip. Recently, I've been chatting to a good friend of mine named Justin Teo, and you can check him out at justinteo.com. Justin's an up-and-coming video marketer who I'll actually be doing an interview with him next week, so make sure that you're on to that next podcast. But just having a chat to him, he's given me some really, really amazing tips and shown me some channels that have done exceptionally well. He basically looks at all the popular channels and takes the best information and compiles it into his own videos and taking some of the tactics that they've been using. And one of the strategies that I've learned and picked up from him is to help increase the subscriptions onto our YouTube channel, onto basically Outsourcing Live. And the way to do that is to put what we call an annotation on our video, just right below the subscribe box. Now, if you're watching this directly on the podcast video, which I usually upload onto YouTube, you'll actually see exactly what I mean. But what I'll do is I'll try to describe it as best as I can. Currently, I'm on YouTube right now, and just below the title of your YouTube video that you've uploaded, you'll have a big button that says subscribe, just right next to your logo or your name of your channel. And obviously, the longer the name of your channel, the more your button shifts across. But if it's just a standard link like Outsourcing Live, your button sits really nicely just to the right of your logo. Now, just below that, what you can do is set up what we call an annotation. And that annotation can say something like subscribe to our channel, click here. And then right at the end of that, what you'll see is that there'll be a box with a square arrow pointing up to your subscribe button. That's just standard default of what happens when you put an annotation in that has a specific link. So all you simply have to do is on any video that you create, and I highly recommend you do it for every single video that you have on YouTube, is to put an annotation which is just right on the top left-hand corner of your video and write something like subscribe to our channel, click here. And immediately when you put that in, add a link that people can click on that will take them straight to your subscription. And that should increase the amount of subscribers to your YouTube channel. And it's a simple little thing that you can do to let it run throughout the whole video. And it's very powerful because people need to be told to do what to do in terms of call to actions. And that's just one major thing that I've learned and starting to apply to all my channels. You'll notice a lot of the big marketing channels, a lot of the songwriting channels, people who write songs and promote them, they'll start to do that. And if you just model off what they currently do, there's a greater chance that you can achieve a lot more subscribers and also provide a lot more interaction with your viewers and also your listeners as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that tip. If you have, I'd love to hear your response and just leave a comment down below on podcasting section here on episode 27. Now, if you like more resources like this one, you can find them inside Mass Outsource Mastermind, along with video tutorials and step-by-step instructions showing exactly how I use them. To get a 30-day, no-risk trial membership to Mass Outsource Mastermind, simply visit freevideoset.com. Until next time, I wish you success in your quest for outsourcing.